There we go. Let's try that, shall we? It's the second time I've done that. It's probably a bit loud. Let's turn that down a bit. There we go. Oh boy, yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. It's been too long. I appreciate that. There's been, obviously, as you know, there's been a lot of things going on in my life, and as you can see, new venue, new place. Should have sound now. And yeah, it's been a bit crazy. It's been a bit crazy, to say the least. And finally, I've sort of settled down a little bit. Everything's kind of, well, I say everything. Most things are kind of set down now. But yeah, I'm back. New year. I hope everybody had a good night last night and played safe. Didn't get too drunk or got way too drunk, depending on what your preference is. As it happened, because now I have housemates, they had a bit of a New Year's Eve thing, so I couldn't really sort of pass on that, could I? So, wouldn't have been quite right. So this is a bit odd at the moment. Obviously, I'm sat in this bloody thing, which is a very comfortable chair, but it's the desk is up here, so I'm a bit feeling like I'm having to climb up onto the desk, but hopefully tomorrow that will be sorted, because my previous landlord is giving me a hand to get the last couple of bits over from the old place, so I'll have my gaming chair back in here, which will be a bit more comfortable. What I'm going to do with half his stuff, I've got no idea. But yeah, brighter looking too, Glenn. Yes, I need to put something up on that wall, I think, just to... it's an opportunity to put a poster up, isn't it? I wonder if I can find my old Exorcist poster. That would be kind of fun, wouldn't it? Hope they're decent people. Yes, I've known the girl that owns the place. I've known her now, since about 2006. I've known her a long time. She's lovely. So she's really kind of helped me out with sort of getting in and, having a place that I could at least have a rough idea of who the hell it was I was moving in with. I'm just going to very gently turn that a little bit. There we go. So I'm not quite hiding behind the text. Everything seems to be working all right. I got one of those power line adapters for the internet because there's no hard point up here, and it seems to be working a treat at the moment. So all looking good. Yeah, it is good to hear. So thank you. See, John's in the chat. Kerry, hope you enjoyed Dracula AD 72 last night. I love that movie. Oh dear. Yeah, I hope you did as well. Yeah. Oh, unfortunately for me, just about all my DVDs are kind of still packed away because there's just no room for me to get them out here. So at some point I've got to get all the boxes, figure out what's in what, and figure out how I can get at least the ones that I really kind of want in here sorted out. I am almost tempted to see if I can grab the bookcase from my previous place and have it behind there, but it's getting a bit ridiculous in here. It's so tight. But it would be nice to have something like that. But there you go. I've got a bunch of stuff I've got to eventually take back to... I say a bunch of stuff, not much more stuff. A couple of things to take back to my brother's place. Yeah, so I'm not entirely settled, but we're getting there. Nice to see you, Lamp. Thank you, Timbo. Oh, crikey. Kerry says, that skull 4 or so years later is still hypnotic. Yes. I had to get rid of the alien skulls, unfortunately, but I do still have the 2 crystal head skulls. Kind of mirrors my own head a little bit more these days, don't you think? Apologies for the last stream. I know that kind of cut off all of a sudden. Just lost all internet when that happened, and it was just a bit like, oh shit, and it didn't come back until about 1 o'clock, and then I got busy over the following couple of weeks, and obviously I didn't actually get much chance to get back because one thing or another, packing up and doing all that kind of stuff, and the uptick in work, and just got a bit crazy. So things just kind of ground to a halt for a while. But, such is the way these things sort of happen. But yeah, I was pissed as fuck when that happened. I noticed about 30 seconds, I think, after it kind of went cocked out. Because the preview, I had the previews on my screens and stuff like that. And it just cut out, and it's like, shit. And then I went around and checked all the connections and restarted up the routers, and it turned out it was a local area thing. So it was a bit annoying. But I might try and redo that particular stream at some point. We might as well rerun that. And then there's a couple of other ideas. At some point, John and I had thought about doing a stream on Richard Stanley's stuff. So maybe we'll be doing that at some point in the not too distant future, which should be kind of cool. Obviously, because the situation's changed, I've got people in the building. There'll be certain times where I can't do stuff, or there might be a bit of noise in the background, because I've got people around. In some ways, it's a nice thing. In other ways, I'm a bit like I'm the sort of person that really likes my own space. But such is life. That's the way things go. And of course, with the new year, there's going to be a whole bunch of things that I hope to make happen, just in my personal life, my professional life, as well as on here. One of which is, I'm thinking of retraining as an electrician. I've got a little bit of background in that anyway with what I do, so because it'd be nice to be able to move back closer to the family and stuff like that, which would be really cool. Other things, I toyed with the idea of learning a bit of Finnish, because I have a couple of Finnish friends, and I've always been impressed by how wonderful those people are, and I would love to learn the language. So that's another New Year's resolution. Hopefully I'll be able to get kicked off on that and start that, because I would love to go visit, which would be amazing. I would love to do that an awful lot. Apparently I could apply for a role as a supervillain with that haircut. See, I like it. The only problem with it is it's shocking how fast it grows. This is like, I gave this a quick shave yesterday, and it's already kind of like it's already kind of fluffy. It's kind of weird. But another thing I was hoping to do would be to repurpose my second channel, get back on there, repurpose it, and perhaps make it into like a retro games kind of channel. I just picked up a couple of bits. In fact, I picked up quite a bit while I was over back home. I won't show you them all, but there's a whole bunch of Mega Drive games. Most of them, and Master System games. Most of them are games that you'd know anyway. There's Paperboy and Sonic. I got Sonic 2 for Mega Drive and Master System. Got the original Sonic the Hedgehog and a couple of other bits. But these ones are kind of interesting because I got a Sega Saturn Quake and Nintendo GameCube Resident Evil. That's a tricky one. I got this because I wanted to sort of just check out the version, but I didn't realise that GameCube came on these teeny tiny little discs, right? And I've got to figure out how I'm going to rip them, because the software, the disk image software that I've got doesn't quite work with them, at least not in this on my initial try. So I've got to have a bit of a play around with that. But hopefully I'll get to have a bit of play with those and perhaps try them out on the second channel. Anybody who kind of likes retro games and stuff like that, when I get it started, I'll let everybody know on Facebook and on here. And you'll be welcome to sort of join me, and we'll just do some live streams and stuff like that of gameplay and things like that, which might be quite fun to do once in a while. See if that takes off. And hopefully, I might even be able to kind of like put certain monetization in place, although I'm reluctant to put too much in the way of adverts and things like that on something like that. I would prefer to kind of have it as a voluntary thing. But if I can clear that channel of anything sort of generally copyright, then hopefully the retro games and stuff will not trigger anything with that. Random says Finland is a beautiful country. I recently learned there's a conspiracy theory that Finland doesn't. Yes, I have heard about that. Yeah, having had a couple of good friends from that wonderful country, it does amuse me that people think that they don't exist. But there was somewhere, like I said, Australia doesn't exist and stuff like that. I don't know how much of it's trolling, to be honest with you, but yeah. Timbo says, I like Richard Stanley and his connection on banned fields of the Nephilim. Lex Luthor variant minty, the one with the goatee, yes. Oh dear. Notice that you had super ghouls and ghosts there last time. Yes, I do. It's on the thing up there. Although I managed to cause some damage to the cartridge ripper when I was boxing it up. So I've got to try my hand at a bit of micro soldering and fix a couple of traces to get that working. If I can't do that, then I'll have to just buy a new one. I'd rather not do that. We're about 120 quid. So if I can fix it, great. If I can't, I'll just bite the bullet and get a new one. Quite handy little thing because it does everything from Sega Master System, Mega Drive, NES, Super NES, Famicom, Game Boy variants, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of good. Speaking of gaming, Lexi got me a Switch for Christmas, amongst other stuff. I'm spending more time playing on the NES, SNES, and Game Boy games instead of the games she got me. But yeah, it's whatever you like. I mean, the PS3 that I've got, for instance, will play PS1, 2, and 3. It's one of those increasingly rare editions of the console that actually do that. So it's kind of good. Well, it does sound like a bloody rocket taking off when it's powered up. It gets fucking hot. It's unreal. I became a retro gamer due to my age, yes. Are any of the Thing games any good? The PS2 one so far has been pretty good. I have to admit I put it down and I haven't picked it back up again. But that seems kind of fun. I think it's quite a nice little sort of puzzle kind of thing going on. Yeah, there's a bit of whodunit as well kind of going on. But does the cart reader handle Neo Geo carts there? No, it doesn't. No. You can get I think you can get Neo Geo cart readers, but yeah. I'm hoping with the Resident Evil I don't actually have to buy the GameCube to be able to do it, because most of the solutions for ripping those games seems to be from hacked GameCube machines. I think there is some software which will rip them. Hopefully. But apparently that's a really nice kind of like copy. Everything about it is really nice condition. What are your thoughts on James Cameron blocking a UK 4K release of The Abyss due to BBFC demanding cuts on the it's the rat scene, not mouse scene, but yeah, that's me being a bit pedantic, but yes, not surprising. That's exactly the sort of stuff that they really just don't like shifting on. I think particularly because it's when you had something like Cannibal Holocaust for instance, when you had something like Cannibal Holocaust and the kind of animal killings that happened in that, the ones that were allowed were what you can call the clean kills, and generally, the sort of stuff that it didn't involve the animal particularly suffering. And the one scene that did get cut was the Cotamundi, and because it's clearly a very heavily botched killing, and the animal, massively suffers doing it. Now they claim because with the Abyss that the rat survived and there was an expert on hand, but you are still kind of putting an animal through the sensations of drowning, at least in the initial states. And I don't think something like that should be encouraged in filmmaking. There's no need for it. I mean, it's perfectly possible to get the point anyway, without actually doing that to an animal. And even then there was ways to kind of simulate that without it actually kind of involving the rat being put through that. So I'm not upset about it. I kind of think fuck them if they just if that one scene, which doesn't really mean that much in the whole grand scheme of things, if that is too precious to them that they can't let that go, then I'm just not that impressed with them anyway. You know, you can import it anyway, so fuck them. If they want to lose the revenue on it, it's their problem. It's their problem. Because the thing is, it won't even be allowed to stream it in this country legitimately. Although it did actually get shown on TV one time. Funny enough, by accident. Because they used the American TV cut, if I remember right, which had that scene in it. Rat was still suffering distress even though it wasn't in danger. Yeah, because the rat didn't know, did it? I don't think it's Cameron, it's the distributors that can't be bothered to release a separate version just for the UK. That's quite possible, although I wouldn't have said it was particularly arduous to actually kind of snip out a little bit of a scene. Because it's not like they're going to make them region free, is it? You know. I don't know if Cameron would have been involved with it. It's possible, but as far as I'm concerned, it's sort of like neither here nor there. Who exactly it is, whether it's the distributors or whether it's Cameron, don't know. But it's a dodgy little scene. Going on aesthetics alone, it's released in 4K, it will look amazeballs. Yeah. I haven't got a 4K TV, so in that respect, it doesn't really bother me. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, they can polish these films up way too much to put it up to 4K, in my opinion. But I don't know. It's not really that big a deal it being in 4K, but having a decent release is more important, in my opinion. It's funny though, because it is always one of those things. It's like the amount of things that can be shown in films these days, and it's always animal scenes that seem to really kind of struggle to get past the BBFC. They're very, very tight on it, and it is partly to do with the laws in this country, because the BBFC, for all their faults, generally speaking, are expected to essentially kind of guide filmmakers through the legal loopholes as much as anything else. So, yeah, Cameron is a veggie, so it might block it on animal rights grounds. I don't think it was Cameron that stopped it, was it? I think it was just the BBFC. Neither do we, Glenn. Very happy with our setup. Yeah, 4K for me is I don't know. Maybe it's out of ignorance, but I know you got to have a massive screen for it to make any particular difference. But yeah, stuff like refresh rate and all that kind of stuff is more important, I would have thought, than a 4K pixel count. And you can make these things, too high def. It's very, very easy. You look at a lot of Blu-rays that are out that have had the high def treatment, and at the end of the day, they don't necessarily automatically look good just because they've been upscaled. Sometimes it actually looks a lot worse. I think The Evil Dead was a good example of that. When it went up to DVD and then it went up to Blu-ray, and that matte of the moon on the external shots just became more and more obvious as it went along. Timbo says, I only own a VHS and a DVD player. Haven't managed to buy a Blu-ray player a while. Oh god, I hate the way that YouTube has this thing now. They put this little heart on the comment, and it sort of just gets right in the way. Blu-ray player as yet here. Yeah, okay. The most common, the most latest comment is blocked slightly by YouTube's heart thing that they shoved on there. I don't think the comment section really needs that. But there you go. Strangely watching older grainy movie uploads on the Switch look HD in comparison to my PC monitor. So they have quite reasonably nice monitors, but they are only 1080p. So I've got a 27-inch and two 24-inch. I need to replace that one because that is old and the switches are knackered. Maybe one day, instead of having three completely different monitors, might be quite nice. I've just finished watching Godzilla Minus One, incredible film made for 15 million. It's better than any 300 million plus Hollywood movie. It's quite nice when you can say that about a movie, isn't it? I haven't seen it myself. I'm not really a Godzilla fan. I'm not really a kaiju fan in kind of general. But I understand a lot of people really like it. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. I recently watched a Blu-ray of Night of the Living Dead 1990 by Savini, and the quality was awful. It had been regraded and you could hardly see anything for the added grain. And contrast, oh my god. You'll have to let us know which edition that is. I'm kind of interested. Yes, 27-inch Samsung 1080p. Yes. Has anyone seen... oh, god damn it. I fucking... I can't read the fucking comment. And has anyone seen the my end of year video of favourite films yet? No, I haven't, but I am intending to watch that. So Romero Horror does have a new video up, and I just haven't had a chance today to watch. I've been kind of buzzing around doing all sorts today, and I have to try to be a little bit sociable and not kind of just hang out in my room all the time. So yeah, I'm trying to keep up with as much as I can. But I will be watching it as soon as the stream's over, Simon. Looking forward to watching it, mate. He's putting a lot of effort into his videos at the moment. They deserve a watch. Heart unblock, you might say. Okay. Yeah. It's just like it's sort of like right down. It's right down. Well, how am I going to do this? It's all in reverse. It's right down here. It's like you get a comment that comes across here. It's kind of like there, and it blocks it completely out. It's just the last word on that. Man, it's annoying. But yeah, don't know why YouTube does that. I mean, put it in the little bit below. Would make more sense. But yeah, so I did pick a couple of Blu-rays up while I was over back at home. So we sat down and we watched Piranha, the I guess nature disaster movie type thing, where this military base has a couple break into it, they go swimming in the tank, and then they get eaten, and people come looking for them and manage to release all the piranhas. And then it's a chase around the countryside, down the river, trying to snap up all the piranhas. It's basically Jaws but inland. So I picked up Piranha 2 after James Cameron's first feature length movie, which he's finally sort of made a certain amount of peace with, which is kind of good. It's all right. It's all right. It's a silly ass movie, but it's all right. I mean, the fish look fucking ridiculous. There's a lot of this kind of like rubber fish sort of waggling it at these actors, and of course the piranhas fly. It's totally ludicrous, but it's kind of fun. I mean, part of the thing is the whole premise is a little bit stretched, really. It's only so far you can go with it. As you know, we found with Jaws and stuff like that, it was not it's not a film idea that really lasted an awful long time. I mean, you could say Jaws didn't have any legs, but it's a fish. Well, so but yeah, quite enjoyable film. Just daft, and you really have to sort of shut your brain off and stuff like that. But talking about shutting your brain off, is also I picked up Zombie 5 Killing Birds, and I know this movie's not great. Did we watch it on a stream? I think we watched it on a stream at one point. It's not a great movie. Robert Vaughn spends most of his time kind of like not saying anything and just kind of stumbling around, basically. But it's a perfectly enjoyable film. It's a really nice addition. I mean, it comes in this really good quality hard slipcase. And then you got that with the it's got reversible sleeves and all that kind of stuff. and the whole booklet comes with it. It's quite enjoyable. I just a really, really overly nice release for a movie that you just wouldn't think would deserve it, and I actually kind of admire that from the releasing company, which is 88 Films. So a very nice little addition. So even if you're only marginal on the film, it's such a nice version. It's kind of worth getting. One's in it. I wonder what dirt they had on him. No, just kind of like a lot of actors, later in their careers, and actually some of them really early in their careers, just did a lot of these Italian movies just for a bit of cash. Most of the time, they'd sort of pretty much didn't think anybody was really going to get to see them, and occasionally they sort of hung around. So every day I was sorting through books based on horror films that I own, and I noticed I have the Piranha novel but haven't read it yet. Oh, it'd be worth a read. I imagine it's probably a nice, easy one. I think the heart is for live streams to show appreciation for the streamer. Well, people do it for different reasons. Great movie. First time I saw and loved Lance Henriksen. Yeah, he plays this sort of really grumpy ass Brody. I mean, it's amazing just quite how far it goes down the line of trying to be sort of Jaws, even with that one. But Lance Henriksen's great in it. He's always great fun. I love it. It opens up with people kind of like fishing with dynamite. He needed to pay the rent. Yes, he did. Yeah. But it's nice to see. I think it is always a nice thing to see, decent releases, or even of films that are largely unlovable. And Piranha 2, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fun, and I got that cheap enough as well. I am looking to get hold of a couple of other movies that sort of go along. There's I'm hoping at some point this year I'll be able to start getting some kind of review work done, but I'm just not holding my breath on it. It's just especially with the current setup's a little bit tricky in some respects, but mostly work's just taking up all my time and energy. And you gotta really, really, really sort of have that energy to do it. And it's very hard to explain to some people, because I've had comments in the past along the lines of, are we doing this sitting and reading a script? It's like, yeah, you got to write the script, and then you got to record the script, and you got to put the effort into making it sound interesting. Because there's a big difference between my first videos and my later videos and all that kind of stuff. Then you got to edit it, and the amount of bloody copyright claims I've had just recently has been a little bit crazy, including I had one on the Nasty's Review Finale Part 2. And it's like, oh God, here we go again. It got blocked pretty much worldwide. I think the only place it could actually be viewed was somewhere in the middle of the Amazon or something like that. But, yeah. But, oh dear. Great movie. First time I saw it, I loved how, it's debatable how much Cameron directed, but whatever he says, in my opinion, it's a great debut. I think he jokingly described it as the best flying piranha movie ever made. Bloodstained glass scene when they get stuck inside was really well done. It was pretty gruesome. Yeah. It made an effort. I mean, yeah, the rubber fish is ridiculous within that particular movie, but there you go. Film scene investigation. Hi Claire, Happy New Year. Your new buzz cut looks good. In terms of context, I agree. It is time-consuming effort, but we appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, if I'm kind of like on a good sort of jag with doing that kind of stuff, making a video is like a day and a half to 2 days work. So it's a lot of time, a lot of effort, and I don't get much time these days because work's just getting a little bit more time consuming and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've got to think about whether, maybe I need a different approach to it. Make shorter, snappier reviews that aren't quite so full on, or even maybe make them in a couple of parts instead of doing like a 20-30 minute video. Kerry says I had a copyright claim from NBC Universal on a 2-minute clip of using my top 20 favourite cult movies. Affect up my editing, so I decided to delete the video. Yeah, I know that feeling. One of the reasons I changed my reviews to the current format is shorter snippets and longer narrative sections are less likely to fall foul. Yeah. It's such a shame, isn't it? Really, because you do this in the community for the love of it. For most of us, that's what it is. It's not about making any money, because for most of us don't make money. And then you get some people come along and they go, oh no, it's mine. Got to pay up if you're going to use any part of it. And you go, it's really not the best. It's not the best way to kind of get people to appreciate your movies, is it? Not really. And it's such a shame when they take that kind of attitude. But there you go. I've had 2 or 3, I think, on the Video Nasties list, which have been deleted or at least kind of permanently blocked for one reason or another. Which means that obviously my series isn't definitive in terms of having everything in it. So, but that can be it's really disheartening, and it is a massive push and fight for all the time to try to constantly keep on top of those kind of things, and a lot of the time you're pretty powerless, which does not help. So it's kind of, you do sort of sit there and you go, why would I put all that effort in when some prick in an office somewhere is just going, yeah. Other clips are okay. So, yeah, it's a bit arbitrary. Sometimes they just go, oh, you used in bits and pieces, so we'll just select this one bit. I don't know if they have to claim several times or whatever, but thing is, it should be covered by fair use to actually help and promote their film. I'm not really so sold on the whole kind of idea necessarily that you promote. That's a really kind of perspective thing. I think it does. You think it does. But I can understand that some people wouldn't necessarily accept or appreciate that as an argument. But it is fair use. But unfortunately, fair use is something it's really a defence in court. There are arguments that say that it is a preemptive thing. You can sort of say that, and in fact, the law is actually kind of set up for you to actually the way YouTube does it is they do expect you to kind of be able to defend your claim against an argument of fair use, but who's enforcing it? It's only when it gets to court that it's going to get sorted out. And, can I spend hundreds or thousands of pounds every year defending even in small claims? Something like that. I haven't got the time and the cash to do that. And so, unfortunately, for people in my situation and other people in my similar situations, we don't really have much of a leg to stand on. It's kind of one of those things. So it sort of sucks. For me, many people I know never heard of. I hate that fucking name. So bring it to the attention of my subscribers. Yes, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I'm very proud of when it comes to, particularly like the Section 3 stuff, and a lot of the Video Nasties stuff, is how many people I've introduced to various films. Cynical Celluloid. There's been some unusual stuff, and I've made some friends with the directors and stuff like that along the way. Doing that sort of stuff. I would probably never have got to see Life Among the Cannibals if it hadn't been for me doing the Extra review, and then the director of Extra actually kind of recommending that one as one of his favourites of his own movies, and I eventually watched it. I loved it. I had so much fun with it. It's funny, at least some copyright enforcers would have a field day with Hong Kong filmmakers in the 60s to 90s. So many soundtracks were repurposed, yes. We're saying with Italy. You know, the amount of films that, not only did they kind of like steal the soundtrack, they also kind of like pretty much plagiarized the entire script and stuff like that. So. No, don't worry, Kerry. It's just it's that title. It just feels ridiculous to say that title, doesn't it? Can you imagine going up to somebody at work and going, "Oh, I just watched this film last night." And they go, "What was it called?" And you go, "I go, all right." It was always a ridiculous title. It's no wonder nobody has heard of it, because nobody really kind of wants to go out there and actually say that thing, do they? Oh dear, oh dear. Dubbed twice, even 3 times. Yeah. Oh yes, the Hong Kong movies. Hong Kong movies are kind of fun and a little bit weird, and I like that about that stuff. Funny enough, yeah, like last night I ended up sort of talking about kind of Japanese movies and that kind of stuff, not Hong Kong movies, but Japanese movies. And their kind of approach to sex and violence in those movies. It's just kind of nuts. Oh dear. Let's see if I can just grab my other bit. Yeah. Come here, you bastard. There you go. Get that ready. It's a lot longer, a lot further for me to go to the fridge from here. Because unlike my previous place, this place has like a ground floor and a first floor. So I actually have to go up downstairs to get to the kitchen now, instead of just wandering behind me. I never used to like the idea of living in a bungalow, but the more I kind of like think about it, the more appealing it is. Makes life a lot easier. Japanese love their violence. Ichi the Killer, for example. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, the Tumbling Dollar Flesh is the best example I can give, really, of sex and violence in Japanese movies. It's like blur out the naughty bits, but allow the kind of like spilled viscera to be shown quite clearly. Strange attitude. Really have a problem with pubic hair in particular. It's kind of curious, but there you go. God, I haven't done this much talking in a while. Get out of practice and say. So I kind of went out for a bit of a walk with the housemates earlier. Took the camera out. I think I've left my strap for my camera at my brother's place somewhere. It's either that or it's packed up in a box somewhere, and I just can't find the goddamn thing. So walking around with an expensive bloody camera in my hand, around all the mud and like kind of stuff, trying not to slip over and drop a couple of grand's worth of camera. It's a little stressful. Got some interesting little shots. I haven't really had a chance to look at them yet, though. But I'm enjoying the photography and all that kind of stuff these days. But I need to get a couple of better lenses than I got, which that'll go a long way. But I need to get a real good quality telephoto lens and a good quality macro lens, and that will do me. But we're talking about £2,000-3,000 worth of equipment there. But Ichi the Killer, yeah, that was one of the examples I was sort of talking about. That's a fucked up film. I love the fact with Ichi that the hero is actually a complete and utter psychopath that you have every reason to hate, and the bad guy, the evil person in the film, actually has a lot more kind of likable about him, even if he is completely and utterly twisted. Their manga have no real censorship either, Kira in particular. See, I don't know too much about most of the manga. I mean, I know that kind of like the sort of more film related manga is that the stuff I'm most familiar with. But even that is just like I haven't gone too far into a lot of the Japanese stuff. but it is interesting. It is interesting. There's some fascinating little forays in there. Just kind of how crazy some of the stuff gets, with the guinea pig movies and that kind of stuff. Just very extreme kind of cinema, which I think even had a certain amount of trouble in its home country, because it does go places. It's all a little bit kind of wow, okay. Oh dear. But yeah, I definitely got to have a bit of a foot around with all my movies and stuff like that. See which ones. I've sort of separated them out into something reasonably manageable, but it does mean I've got to go into boxes, dig into boxes, try and find what they want, and then sort of take it out. But I might have to categorise them or something like that, which is an incredibly boring job. It's either that or I try and rip them all and buy about 60 odd 8 terabyte drives to actually put them all on. It'd be like a server farm in here. It'd be kind of funny. At least I wouldn't have to turn the heating on in here. But yeah, I'm just gonna have a quick look up see if I missed anything. Think so. Gary, King of the Lurkers, also had a good Christmas and New Year's. We were together for Christmas, and yeah, we had a good time. Went out for a few meals and a couple of nights out on the town. I did leave a bottle of Jaffa Cake gin there. Whether any will be left there by the time I get up there, he says it will. But I've always kind of like said, nah, you just tell yourself I'll get another one when I get up there. All be good, which I'm hoping I will be getting back up there. Perhaps at the end of February, maybe beginning of March sort of time. That would be quite nice to do. Yeah, I'd do another stream, but I don't think he's particularly from there, but I don't think he's particularly interested in being in there. It's not a big one for being in front of the camera. Leaves that to me. It's kind of, yeah. Yeah, Jeff, I see that was yummy. Yeah. Yeah. I might just show you these ones. As well. Yeah, the Jaffa Cake gin is kind of weird. It's because it really does. It does taste exactly like Jaffa Cakes. It's kind of fun. But yeah, I picked these up while I was up there. So obviously just the classics really. Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic 2. Of course, I had these when I had the Mega Drive originally. That one just because, Paperboy is a big jolt of nostalgia for me, because I do remember going to when we went to the seaside, seeing the Paperboy arcade machine and all that kind of stuff with the handlebars on and all that kind of thing. We always wanted to play it. So it was very exciting when you eventually got it on the home console. Golden Axe, of course, that's another one I used to have. A lot of these are really kind of me, just rebuilding my collection. And I got Sonic 2 on the Master System as well. Plus the other ones, Resident Evil, that kind of stuff. So I kind of splashed out a little bit while I was up there. It's one of the nice things. I traded in my phone, so I got a bit of cash back and just splurged a bit and got a bunch of those. Like I said, the retro cartridge ripper thingy needs a bit of repair. But we will give it a go. Played Altered Beast on a Mega Drive a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember if I had that. I have played it, but I can't remember if I owned it. When I bought my Mega Drive, I got it before it got officially released in this country. So I had a Japanese import. And because there wasn't an awful lot of it in the way of English cartridges, this Sonic one was kind of like English language. But I also got Rainbow Islands and that's such a great game. And I wish I still had it because that cartridge is actually worth a lot of money. Golden Axe 2 is the best version of that. Yeah. I like it as much just because, yeah, I had those originally, and they're very, very nostalgic for me. But Golden Axe it's not a great game now. It's not aged very well, put it that way. It isn't talking about kind of like, oh no, the quality of the graphics isn't great, da 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 da. The gameplay is very archaic. It's still fun, but it's only really got a limited shelf life when you're sort of playing it. Something like, Ghosts and Ghouls and all that kind of stuff, or Ghosts and Goblins, which seems to be harder and harder to get hold of, is Ghosts and Goblins. There's something timeless about that particular kind of gameplay, because it is old, an old style of gameplay, but it's still kind of works. But something about when Golden Axe does it that feels very, very, very dated. And I think it's that kind of Street Fighter, not Street Fighter really, is it Street Fighter? Target Renegade kind of fighter game. Was very, very much of its time. It wasn't the best format to do that kind of stuff. I always wondered if RoboCop really could have beaten Terminator on Master System. Oh man, yeah, I mean that was a really good game actually. I remember playing it on the Spectrum because my brother had it. It was RoboCop on a 48/128. That was a really, really good game. That was a really good game. When I was up my brother's place, I kind of like set him up with RetroArch and PCSX too. So he's all set up now. He's got a bunch of Spectrum games and stuff like that, and PS2 and PS1 games. All good to go, so now he can actually play them on his computer. It took me a little while to get these kind of sorted out on mine, and I'm still working out on certain things, because I've ripped Quake, because that's easy enough to rip a disk image of. But I've got to get RetroArch to do its thing, and it can be a little bit tricky sometimes. Sometimes you need to put a ROM into them and things like that to get them to function. So RetroArch is not terribly well set up for just kind of like install and play kind of thing. It requires a little bit more tweaking than that sometimes. Particularly, it comes to like the PS2 games and stuff. That's why I've got PCSX2, is because it just works much, much better than RetroArch when it comes to playing those games. So RetroArch is great, and it does a lot of different machines, but it's just a little bit it's fiddly, to say the least. We shouldn't let that put you off. When you've got games, sites like World of Spectrum and things like that going on, if you want to recreate that old Spectrum 48/128K kind of experience, those things are there. And you can download an awful lot of games off of there. Legitimately, because he does seem to go quite some way to try to kind of make his peace with any copyright holders and all that kind of stuff, ask for permission. And there's plenty of games that aren't available on there, which I would love to see available on there, like the Electronic Dreams games, like Aliens and things like that would be quite nice, but they've refused permission for whatever reason. I don't know why. It doesn't seem to be much point in that. I don't think too many retro companies are lining up to buy the rights for those to sell them to make millions and millions and millions, to be honest with you. Every time they try to make a retro bloody Spectrum console, it seems to have been a con somewhere along the line, doesn't it? Renegade is a brawler. Yeah, and I kind of put Golden Axe sort of in that kind of same vein, that sort of horizontal scrolling beat 'em up kind of brawler type thing. Yeah. Oh, they were great fun though. I mean, they were great fun at the time. Just not aged very well. But then again, you can say that about a lot of gameplay styles. Rainbow Islands, however, Still as much fun to play now as it was back in the day. Definitely worth playing at that, and Bubble Bobble. The Bubble Bobble's great fun as well. It's a very simple game, very simple idea. This gets progressively more and more challenging as it goes along, to the point of frustration. But it's nice doing it on the PC, where you can kind of save your progress a little bit, which some people consider cheating. I just consider it just a nice feature of the modern version of playing those games. Nothing more annoying than getting to like the last level and then getting killed and having to start all over again. That's just not fun. That's just a joy killer. Double Dragon is decent, especially the port on the NS for DD2. Okay, yeah, I mean, Double Dragon is NES, yes. Double Dragon was not really one that I played an awful lot of. I always have fonder memories of stuff like Mortal Kombat when I first started playing that. But I can barely stand playing it these days. I got to play some Tekken or something like that at some point, because it's been a long time since I played that. Guy is working on Port of Final Fight for the Mega Drive at this time. Oh, really? Okay. It's kind of fun how there's these communities still running, making stuff like that. Still for like Amiga and EST and Mega Drive. Spectrum has a thriving programming scene. So you get in the world of Spectrum, there's still tons of games being released. It's just they're not commercial. It's all about enthusiasts. It's actually a great way to learn, how to code and stuff like that, is to start with something like a Spectrum. You can learn how to program on something with like 48k of memory. You learn efficiency. Efficiency seems to be something that is a lost art these days in games making. I mean, speaking of which, I bought a whole bunch of games on Steam. Steam Winter Sale is still on. And I just ended up buying a whole bunch of indie games and stuff like that. Excuse me. Are you expecting Christopher Lambert to appear as Raiden? No. I have such mixed feelings about that movie, to say the least. Part of me loves it. Part of me is kind of like a little nostalgic, because I saw that film when I was when I went to visit a friend in Canada. That was the first time I saw that movie, was at that point, which was quite fun. So those happier memories with it, but you kind of watch it again now, and it's cheesy as fuck, isn't it? Do you have fond memories of that kind of theme tune kicking in, which is like sort of very exciting? Oh, James Remar. But yeah. Annihilation is a huge guilty pleasure of mine. Why not? If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. It's not. There's no judgment on my barrel. Just, I'm less excited to see it these days as I used to be. But there's a few movies that are like that, They haven't really sort of aged very well with me. But then you get others which really just get better and better. While I was back at my brother's, we ended up watching Inland Empire again. Which for some people would seem like punishment. I've seen that film, probably about at least 12 times. And there's always something more interesting I find in that film each time I watch it. It's a film that gives back whatever you put into it. It doesn't kind of do it easily. You got to really kind of work with that movie. That's Lynch's films in a nutshell. You get what you put into them to an extent. It's kind of they take that effort. I mean, Razorhead was very much like that, wasn't it? Not a movie that when the first few times you watch it, it's like kind of like you almost expect that it's there as a kind of sort of aesthetic kind of thing. It's not something that when you first watch it you go, oh, there's so much meaning there. Half the time you're sort of going, I love the atmosphere and I love the kind of feel of this movie. No idea what's going on, but there's something about just kind of like immersing yourself in this really weird world that kind of works very, really nicely. And the more you watch it, the more you sort of kind of, and the more you discuss it, the more you find things within that movie which actually kind of like start to make sense and start to slot together. And there's very little in Eraserhead for me that doesn't make any sense. And the trickiest part of that entire movie is really the Eraserhead scene, basically where they're making the pencil to the pencil factory. That's the most confusing part. But over and above that, outside of that, it makes so much sense to me, and I can even justify that particular part to a great degree. It just feels a little bit like I haven't quite got a grip on that section. But beautiful film. I'm kind of glad I got it on. Eventually got the Blu-ray of it. I do need to get hold of the UK Blu-ray at some point. The Criterion one. That would be quite nice to do. I kind of suspect it's probably not cheap at this point. Such is the way with Criterion. They are one of the few Blu-ray or DVD collections that seems to go up in value to a reasonable amount. Mulholland Drive was on Film 4 last night. I expected Lexi to change the channel, but she's managed 30 minutes. It is not an easy film to like. I've long said it's one of Lynch's most challenging films. It's very difficult to get your head around what's going on. It's incredibly non-linear. It's also very hard to sort of get a grip on what is the heart of that movie. And for anybody who struggles with it and just wants a minor clue, it's worth considering that the POV character is the lost girl, who's the girl at the beginning of the film who's watching the TV, the prostitute. It's her story, it's her world, it's how she interprets what's going on the screen, and everything else that happens, Laura Dern's section and all that kind of stuff, all the other related scenes are within that. Once you understand that, then it starts to kind of make a lot more sense as a movie. When I got it, Glenn, it was 18 quid. That was in 2015. I'm going to have a quick look and see if it's actually still around. Oh yeah, okay, 26 quid from HMV online. But okay. My face looks like it's blown up now. $25.99. UK only Blu-ray. I may have to get that at some point. I've got the US one, but it's the broken one. It's the one with the where they kind of screwed up the final sequence. This is the bit where the lady in the radiator hugs Henry, and it goes brilliant white. For some reason, instead of doing that, it just goes to black. And every time it flashes, it goes to black. It's just the wrong way around, obviously. Kind of, it's kind of an important scene. So it's a big screw up on that one. Anyone else glad that Christmas is finally over? Christmas means something very different to me. That it does to a lot of people. I mean, for me, it's not about kind of like, I don't like all the kind of like having to go out, buy presents, yada, 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 but I think it is a lovely thing to be able to get to spend time with my family. which is a luxury I have these days where I didn't in the past. With what I do for a living, in theatre and stuff like that. My current job, for all its faults, is very unusual in that I get a lot of time off over Christmas, so I get a chance to head home. Whereas previously, we had one day off for Christmas and one day off for New Year's, so you'd have Christmas Day and New Year's Day off, and the rest of the time you'd be working long hours. I'm talking 7, 8 in the morning till about 11 o'clock at night, 6 days a week or 7 days a week. So bit nuts. I'd say this job, like I say, for all the things I might complain about, the work-life balance is a hell of a lot better, and it's nice to be able to get back and see the family. And this year I've had a lot more time to actually do that because everything finished at work like a week earlier than normal, so it gave me plenty of time to, but especially with everything else that's been going on. I'm very fortunate this year, and I got to spend best part 2 weeks up at my brother's house, which was very nice. Good to see everyone again. See my sister, my niece and nephew, my brother, and my mum. It was good. I work in the food industry, so we're really busy and hardly get any time off at this time of year. Yeah, it's hard. I wish we could sort of chill the fuck out a bit over Christmas. Everybody. The pubs close down on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. At least give them a couple of fucking days. There's plenty of, go out, buy your beers, get all that kind of stuff in. There's very few people should have to work over the Christmas holidays. Yeah, I don't even have to shut the pubs. You just kind of get people who are willing to do it. But it can be a bit much, can't it? Is it 18? Yes, the Eraserhead and Criterion. Yes, I will get hold of that at some point. Then I'll have 4 versions, or is it 5 versions of Eraserhead? I got a lot of editions. It's one of those things, isn't it, when you get the movies and stuff like that, and you get the kind of editions that sort of come out. Eraserhead is one of those kind of films that you can end up getting half a dozen different versions of, and be quite happy that you got them all. Dawn of the Dead. How many versions of Dawn of the Dead are there? There's quite a few. It's quite a few. I've got several versions of Dune, and they are legitimately different versions. I think I've literally got about four or 5 different versions of the film, different cuts, including there's like a super hyper extended one which adds kind of stand-in sort of concept art and all that kind of stuff. It's a bit weird, but it's worth having. Particularly as I am one of those people who, despite what I should feel about the movie, I actually really like it. And the thing was, as much as I think the latest version of Dune is an interesting and probably much better made film in many respects, it didn't feel like it went far enough to... I don't know. Lynch's Dune film is thought of as being a very, very flawed film, and it is in many respects. The new one, the latest one, doesn't feel that different on most levels. Really, no, you sort of go. There's not. If Lynch's Broken film is very close to being as good as a film that is, considered to be really well made. It was my weekend off this weekend, and today I got today off too. Just had a nice 4-day weekend, which is lovely. I'm glad you got some time. It's at least 3 versions of Dawn, 4 if you include the unofficial composite cut, and there's about a couple of different composite cuts. I do know one of the guys that was involved with making the extended Mall Hours cut. Is a lovely guy. Done as a fan edit. So I quite enjoyed that. In fact, I'm almost at the point where I actually kind of prefer it to the canned cut, but the canned cut is nicely done. The extended Mall Hours cut is amazing to see all that stuff all kind of composited together, but it's just a little bit too rough around the edges to kind of enjoy as a movie in its own right. So it's not, and it's not down to being their fault. There's X amount of sources and different soundtracks and all that kind of stuff going on. So trying to get all that sort of stuff to kind of square up is very, very difficult. But I did enjoy the fact that it's got the extended basement scene in the project where they sort of knock the wood in. They're kind of like, I can't see anything. Then the zombies attack. There's this pause, which doesn't happen in most versions of the movie. Because it looks ridiculous a little bit when you get the kind of faster cut one, because they just go bang like that, they knock this wood out, and then immediately it's like, well, how the hell did the wood get out of the way if it just stood right there? But yeah, so there's, other than that, there's the Argento cut, there's the theatrical cut, and there's the extended, well, the cans cut. But there's also, the British cut, which is different as well. And it's not entirely due to censorship. There are a few kind of tweaks and changes. One of the things with the British cut, actually one of the things I really appreciate with the British cut, because most of it has been kind of like, savage, to be honest with you, is the opening scene where Fran, it starts on that close-up of the red carpet and then pulls out to see Fran. In the British one, she's very blue. She looks like one of the zombies. And it sort of snaps into real colour when she wakes up. Which I thought was a really cool idea. And I'm not quite sure why that was not the default. But I do remember sort of seeing little bits and pieces of that. Kind of like just that one section. And kind of going, which one did that come from? And then eventually Simon got me, helped me out with a copy of the UK VHS, and there it was, lo and behold. I can't remember if the UK VHS had the extended basement bit where they knocked the wood out. I think it did. Really different versions. I picked up the Matrix film on DVD as they were releases, chock full of bonus materials. Then WB released a slim free DVD box set of them, nothing but the films. Yes. Yeah, very lazy. Yeah. They don't want you to have Blu-rays and DVDs. I think they'd sort of do it as almost a contractual obligation these days. I just hope that, when because they will eventually, I think, when the studios sort of like finally decide that they don't want to do Blu-ray releases and that kind of stuff anymore, that the independent market kind of picks up on that stuff. And companies like 88 Films and stuff like that are, or Arrow and those various really good quality labels pick up the ball and get older releases of films and make sure that we still have a healthy collection of stuff. If modern Hollywood doesn't want to be preserved, then, well, let's be honest, a lot of it's trash anyway. But it's a shame because, even the trashy, I think, is often worth preserving in one form or another, as my DVD and Blu-ray collection will kind of testify to a great extent. UK release was essentially the US theatrical version, but with a couple of tweaks and some censor cuts. Yeah. But I think the US theatrical did have a few different things to the UK release. It wasn't quite the same. It's like the bit at the beginning with the blue Fran face. That was only on the UK release as far as I was aware. If you look closely at in the knock it in scene, one of the very visible SWAT team's guys is really laughing. Japanese dub release, which you can find in YouTube, is hilarious. Completely different soundtrack and effects. If you've got a link to that, Simon, I would love to see that. I'd love to see that. Dawn of the Dead is a really wonderful kind of example to use. It's a very handy example to use in some respects, because to illustrate how different cuts work and all that kind of stuff. I would like to, it'd be kind of cool to have a video essay on different cuts and how those kind of things work, and a few different examples. So if any of you sort of feel like writing something, and nick it before I use it. Glenn, in regards to YouTube copyright issues, have you ever thought about starting a Rumble channel, less restrictions? Have you also thought about joint streams? Joint streams is something I would I'm kind of open to. Usually, it's why I like working with John in particular, because we just kind of click off of each other really well. So I always enjoy working with John, because it's just effortless. It's just effortless. I love hearing what he has to say, and I think he likes hearing what I've got to say. And even when we disagree, we're having fun talking about it. You posted a link on Rambleholics. Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Simon. But regarding collabing, if you're on Facebook, I can't remember. I don't know if you're on Rambleholics, but I'm on Facebook. Contact me there. It's probably the easiest place. I don't know it's Boomerville over there, but it's a handy thing. It's a handy thing to have, especially with the Rambleholics, because that's where I get to kind of share with the close friends that we have here. And if you want to get onto Rambleholics, anybody who isn't and wants to get onto Rambleholics on Facebook, it's just friend me on Facebook and then ask to get an invite. It's an invite only thing. It's just kind of how we default set up, but it just kind of works. Bloody hell, Lampy, what's happened to your hair? What about my hair? Well, hello everyone, Happy New Year. I look like General Zod, do I? I mean, I've had Walter White and General Zod now. Neil! Or Ming the Merciless. My beard's not pointy enough for Ming the Merciless. I quite like the Zod thing, though. Didn't Zod have a lot more hair? I mean, I know he had quite a high hairline, but I thought he had a lot of hair. Still. Don't know. Maybe I'm mixing up. It's been such a long time since I've seen that film. You know what? I'm going to have to rewatch the Christopher Reeve Superman films again at some point. It's been such a long time. A lot less cynical days. Oh dear. Yes, Lex Luthor. I seem to be playing the bad guys. I am the evil twin after all. I quite enjoyed having it like this, actually. Just makes sharing a lot easier. Although I'm going to have to watch it in the summer. Yeah, don't want to get sunburnt on the head. That won't be much fun. But yeah, the blue filter is only noticeable difference between the old UK and US release, aside from the censor cuts. Yes, yeah, I think you're probably right on that one. Yeah, it's just kind of weird. I know it's a small thing with that particular release, but it's something that stood out to me, and I don't quite know why. But there you go. It's always quite fascinated me. Oh, fantastic. I'm really looking forward to watching it. Blofeld. Need the cat, though, don't I? Ah, Mr. Bond. I was expecting to get the piss taken out of me, but when I went home, but they were all very, oh, yeah, I quite like that. Fucked up now. The family approve of it. Oh dear. So yeah. I've got a couple more days off before I sort of hit work, but I thought I'd keep the stream relatively early and relatively short today, because this is as much me sort of just testing out that everything's kind of up and running, and I'll be making some changes and kind of like altering a few bits and pieces around and trying to get it all to kind of work a bit better. But I'm about 80% there. This seems to be holding quite well. I've got to figure out, a couple of things like where my lighting is, how I'm going to do that on a permanent basis. I've got this kind of weird jerry rig sort of thing going on. Obviously, my microphone is currently kind of like right in the bloody way. But yeah, it's a nice microphone. I got a bunch of these for work actually, and even my noise boy friend was like, kind of like, oh, these are really good actually. Well, yeah, and they're not too expensive. I don't like this current kind of thing where all these YouTubers, they've got these bloody great big fucking mics and they're absolutely smothered in LED, and it's like they're all kind of like, and have to hold it. And excuse me for the noise, because there will be a bit of noise, and they're having to hold the mic like that and doing this kind of stuff, and they've always got to have the mic in front of their face like that and that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, you don't need to do that. It can be quite happily over here. It's a good mic. You get the setup right. You don't need to have it shoved up your fucking nose. I don't know what it is. It's even some fairly, noise related people. You've got to have the mic right up here. It's like, no, you don't. Not unless you're in a really noisy environment. You have to have the microphone right down. Point being, you have the microphone less sensitive, so it doesn't pick up all the noise around you, but it's close enough that your voice becomes dominant. If it's a reasonably quiet environment, you don't need to be right on top of the mic. You just don't. Have you moved, Lampy? The room seems a bit different. Yes, I have. I moved house. Lost my previous place, unfortunately. I could have stayed there a few more months, but as it was like this opportunity came up, and I didn't want to leave it till then, because I'd only been stressing, and I'd already packed, and it was just like, and this place it's a good 60 or 70 quid cheaper a month, which I will try to put to good use. Put it in my savings. They've obviously never done karaoke. But it's like, oh god, I mean, and some of these are YouTubers I really, really like, and it's like, microphone's got to be right there, right in front of them. It's like, just. I'm not speaking particularly loudly here, but I am projecting a little bit. Speaking at just above my normal speaking voice. And it's like, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. I mean, you kind of listen to the early videos that I did, and I had this really shitty setup. It was astonishingly bad. But, I was just trying something out when I first started the Nasties review. And it was this earpiece with this little mic that would come down like that. It didn't come out much further than that. And other than the microphone itself being absolute just wank, it was just cheap and nasty. It was what I had knocking around. You could hear, it didn't have to be shoved right here. But we get it with like with the performers at work, because they're not used to using radio packs and headsets and stuff like that. So we have these kind of Sub-Zero headsets, which are cheap, or dirt cheap, about as cheap as you can get. But they're reasonable. They're not bad actually for what they are, and it don't matter if they get busted, because they're like 30-40 quid a pop. as opposed to, if you pay for Sennheiser headsets, are like, can go up to three to £500 each, and all it takes is somebody to give it a yank or to drop it, and before you know it, that's a lot of equipment gone out the window. With these 30-40 quid, even if you get like 5-6 uses out of it before somebody breaks it, it's not too bad. So you're not going to cry about that kind of thing. But the students sometimes, they bring the mic right out here, stuff like that. They feel like they've got to have it right in front of the mouth. Of course, all you get is a every time they give a plosive, or whereas they're breathing all over it and that kind of stuff. It's like, no, take it back right to there. All you've got to do is speak up a bit, you'll be fine. How they would cope with the teardrop ones, because you get these ones which go over the head, usually goes within the hairline, which wouldn't work very well with me, obviously, at this point. But you kind of like it, you have it sort of right in between, right in the temple, just above the nose. And it sort of sits there and picks up from there. But you've got to be, you've got to project it. It picks up a certain amount from the vibrations going through your skull and stuff like that. But microphone technique is a funny thing. For a lot of people, it seems to be incredibly challenging, and it really shouldn't be. But don't have a sodding great microphone like this. It's like it's a fucking huge microphone like this, and having it right up close to you. You don't need to do that. It's got a really good sort of reception pattern, and the thing with it is it's like a cardioid, which basically means it's sort of a heart-shaped sort of reception pattern. Means it kind of rejects a lot of noise from other directions. But I'm no noise boy. That's as I understand it. OG Blofeld or Christoph Waltz. I can live with Christoph Waltz. But enough talking about sound, I guess. But thinking about the sort of future when it comes to kind of like doing the YouTube and stuff and all that kind of thing. It's I've got to find certain ways of kind of making things, different things happen, and doing the collabs and all that kind of stuff is, it's fine and well. But when it comes to collabs, joint streams is one thing, but when it comes to doing like collaborative videos, it can be a bit of a funny thing because you put a lot of effort into those things, and I've done a couple in the past, and the end result is a video that somebody else gets the benefit from. They get the views, they get the comments, they get all that kind of interaction and that kind of stuff, and you don't necessarily get much out of it as a contributor to that kind of thing. So I'm a little bit less sort of keen on doing that kind of stuff, other than with kind of like you get certain friends that you'll do stuff with, people who are close friends, like John, for instance, that it's a completely different thing doing it for someone like that. So I'm a little less kind of keen on doing it generally, collab videos. Because it's a lot of work, and ultimately it doesn't end up on my channel. So it feels a bit throwaway. Whereas live streams and stuff, because I did all the live streams, so like with the BLA 30,000 stuff like that, which were great fun. Video discussions. Barry was a lot of fun to do those kind of things with, because whenever, like with John, we had a lot to say to each other. It was just a very natural kind of conversational sort of thing would go on, and it was very easy for us. There was times where we were kind of like I just sort of Skype just to catch up and see how he was doing, and it'd just be like we'd just end up talking for a couple of hours going, probably should have recorded this. Same with John. At times I've had a video, Skyped him or something like that. We'll chat for like 3-4 hours on some occasions, and you just get to the end of it and go, really should have probably recorded because it would have been quite interesting, and that's that's hard to find, is that dynamic. I did quite enjoy when I did the watch along of Fight for Your Life, and got like the writer and director there, and Straw, the writer is lovely. It's just so much fun to kind of chat to on that stuff. Very, very easy guy to talk to. And bear in mind, Newt Wallen had kind of like set this up because he knew Straw, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I know the writer. Do you want to do a stream with him?" So like literally about an hour and a half before the bloody before I was about to go live, I went, "Oh fuck, okay, yeah, all right, okay, right, I'm gonna have to figure this out." Just get him in touch with me, get him on Skype. We kind of put this thing together, and Straw's kind of like got a decent camera on it, and got a director of the film is on a phone that Straw's holding up to the microphone and stuff. It was a very weird one, but it was absolutely just a joy to do. When you get those kind of things sort of going on, it's kind of fun. And between Newt and Straw, that was very enjoyable, and I enjoyed doing like the stream with Newt as well. He's had some problems in the past. It do seem to sort of keep coming back and haunting him, but he's genuinely in my kind of experience, he's been lovely to work with, and I'd love to do a stream with him. It'd be kind of fun. I love the Mad Dog Killer collab you did, mate. That was great. Yes, it was. It's so much fun to do. Josh is another one. There's a lot of people who sort of have a love-hate relationship with Josh. I adore Josh. He's such a wonderful guy. A very, very good friend. And the thing was, I mean, it was such a weird thing that how we got to be friends, and I cannot remember for the life of me who basically introduced us, because I think at the time Brad Jones and Josh Hadley were planning on doing a Video Nasties edition of Radiodrum, and it was one of my viewers, I cannot remember for the life of me who it was, put us together in touch together. And I was a bit like, well, who the fuck is this guy? So I listened to a couple of episodes of Radiodrum. I was like, oh, yeah, okay, right, now I can. This could be fun. This could be fun. So it's sort of like we arranged a date and to Skype, and it says like, okay, right, because there's the time difference. This is the latest I can do, so you might have to shift it a little bit early. And he was like, kind of fine, yeah. So I was looking at about 11 o'clock at night, which is because it usually records for about an hour and a quarter. A certain amount is cut out, as Josh does actually an amazing job with the editing. He really does. He takes out all the ums and the ahs and the spaces and the pregnant pauses, and it's seamless. It's wonderful, the work he does with that. A lot of people don't quite realise how much effort he put into that. Video Lost in the Static was a bit different. It was he did edit a bit here and there, but it was much more kind of organic sort of conversation. But yeah, as it happened, it's like this is when I was in Ipswich. He goes, okay, we'll get in touch. As soon as I just could not get a stable internet connection, and the internet died completely for about 3 days. I was like, oh shit, okay, because it's like Josh Hadley and the Cinema Snob. Back in those days, I was like, fucking hell, Brad Jones. I've been watching quite a few of his videos. I really like them. And so I had to put it off a week or two. And fortunately, Josh was kind of like, no, it's cool. We'll just hold off on it. I really want you on this one. And when we'd sort of arranged the time, then Brad Jones kind of had to drop out for one reason or another. And it was just me and Josh and Alex Jowski. And it was like, it turned out to be a lot of fun. Poor Alex did not get a lot to say. It was between you know, obviously I was doing my thing. I was like kind of like right on at the height of my kind of studies of the video nasties and that kind of stuff at the time. So I kind of did most of the talking most of the way through. And I think Josh quite enjoyed that because then he didn't have to do too much. But eventually he sort of got us kind of like, he says, well, yeah, you know, I'm doing a couple of commentaries and things like that. Do you want to do something? We're doing like a little kind of mini doco on Mad Dog Killer. So I kind of went to work and set up the auditorium of the theatre to look like a cinema. So I lit it and did all these various pieces and kind of chose a camera angle. So I put a light at the back of the auditorium, which made it look like a projector lamp. So there's a lens flare and all sorts of stuff, all in camera, and it looked really cool. And it's a great little thing. And I think if I remember, I got the first words, and I think I got the last. I was very close to the last if I didn't get the last in that one. So it was great fun. It was great fun, and it's just great. I mean, it's edited so well. I can't remember who edited it. I don't think Josh did it. I think somebody else did it for him. Did an amazing job on it. I love the fact it was short notice, but you would never have known. Yeah. You know, it's kind of a lot of the time. The only thing I've always found challenging with like Lost in the Static and with Radiodrome was, generally speaking, you didn't get that much notice of what the subject was. I was like kind of like fucking hell, Josh, tell me, like, you know, 2 weeks in advance and I can actually do some background. Lost in Static was particularly like that. I don't know if it's just because he likes the more organic sort of response from Sarah and myself. It'd be interesting to sort of get that kind of booted up the arse and sort of back out. But I think it's pretty much, you know, dead forever. Maybe that's the way it should be. A lot of people did enjoy Lost in the Static. I mean, the dynamic changed, obviously, for, you know, anybody who knows Lost in the Static, and it's, you know, the original hosts and the various kind of host changes and stuff that happened. I know I've probably plagued you to death, Rick. No, collabs are they're difficult to get right. I am quite demanding. I'm not easy to do collabs with because I tend to sort of ask a heck of a lot, and it's very difficult. I think, you know, one of the things with doing like Lost in the Static and the Radiodrome episodes that I did was Josh is an incredibly good host. As controversial or kind of annoying as some people find his the way he kind of like injects himself into the conversation, he has an incredible skill at guiding a conversation and constantly keeping things sort of coming and doing that kind of stuff. As a host, he does that job incredibly well. It's a very difficult thing to do. I think it is literally one of those things. It's very hard to teach. It's not impossible. I think I'm probably more in a place where I could do that kind of stuff these days than I was back in the day. But if it had been like Josh had gone, yeah, go do Lost in the Static yourself, you know, done 2 weeks with him. Oh, you know the ropes now. You got to go and you go and do it. I don't think I could have, not in the same way. Sarah and I were very much kind of led by Josh to a degree in terms of how we sort of interacted with the argument and stuff like that. And it was very structured in like, you know, you say something now, you say something now, you say something now, you say something. So there wasn't a cross talk going on. But it kind of worked. Are your new housemates into films as well? If not, could you lighten them on World Cinema? they're not in not in the same kind of films that I am. Certainly, horror is not my friend's wheelhouse, to say the least. She struggles with it, but that's okay. I mean, we do sit down, and we've plenty of times we sat down and she'd come over to my place and we'd sit down and watch a movie. She likes lighter stuff, just generic kind of Hollywood stuff for the most part. Though she is reasonably adventurous. I ended up donating my copy of Feston to her. I says, this is a really, really good film. I love this film. Says it looks really, really rough and all that kind of stuff. But the story's magnificent. Absolutely love it. The last collab you guys did was great. The ones with John and Simon also. Yeah. I do enjoy doing those things occasionally. It's actually quite difficult to do with like YouTubing and stuff like that, because you've got so many things going on. This is why I have 3 screens. Screen 1, 2 and 3. Right? Because when I do collabs and stuff like that, it means I can put everybody on Skype on that, and then I can kind of cut and select the bits to go into here, which is where OBS is, while I monitor on that screen. Having that real estate is amazing. But to the point that it's kind of ruined me when it comes to like laptops and stuff like that. I find laptops very hard to use because I've got one screen. Yeah. I mean, I'll certainly do something again with Kerry at some point. It's kind of like, it's finding the right things to do. But certainly when it comes to like streaming with other people, because then you got all that stuff which is going on, kind of collecting everybody, trying to balance all that kind of stuff up. Then there's controlling the conversation, especially if you're doing it live, like a live stream and stuff like that, controlling the conversation to make so you're not talking over each other and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, watching a movie. Because I still haven't figured out there is a way to do it. But getting the playback to not come through basically with the soundtrack and stuff like that. Because if I'm just doing a conversation, it's easy. I just pick up the desktop audio and then I can feed that into the mix. But if I'm trying to watch a movie, I need to stop it going through the desktop audio and actually have it come out to another source. Basically isolate whatever's recording that thing to not include the soundtrack of the film, but I still need to be able to hear it. So I end up having to wear 2 sets of headphones. So I've got the main set of headphones, and I'll usually have like a in-ear headphone inside one ear. So I can hear the movie. And it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable at all. You know what, Simon? That actually sounds really fucking cool. Let's have a chat about it at some point. That'd be really kind of cool to do. We've done streams of Dawn of the Dead on a couple of occasions, but I think it's always worth a revisit, and especially with Simon, because Simon was integral in helping me kind of put my Dawn of the Dead review together in terms of sourcing certain materials and things like that. Timber says not a fan of laptops either. PCs rule. I do have a really good laptop actually. I mean, this is not a bad laptop. It's Lenovo ThinkPad P51. I'm looking to get a P53 because it's got a more basically so I can do Windows 11 without having to kind of jack around trying to force it. Plus, it's if I get the i9 P53, that's a bloody good computer, and that'll last me a good few years. That's a good laptop. I love it, but it is working on a small screen generally with a trackpad, and it's a single screen, stuff like that. Doing stuff like streaming stuff off of that is just not much fun. I mean, I could sort of plug in multiple monitors and stuff like that, but it's like, well, what's the point? My computer's down here at the moment, right down there, and that's a nice tower system. But I need a new graphics card at some point, so I'm thinking of getting like a 3070 or something like that. I don't really need the 40 series particularly. But that's been a very good laptop. And the nice thing about it is I can do the astrophotography with it and not worry about it quite so much when it comes to like dew and things like that, because I've got the computer outside. God, my throat's rough tonight. But Simon, maybe at some point, not just Day of the Dead, but we'll do Dawn of the Dead, but do Day of the Dead as well. Maybe that would be kind of fun to do. Yeah, Simon's got a lot to say about that movie, and so do I. We both loved that movie. I mean, I love Simon's coffee mug. It's the Dawn of the Dead one. He's a big fan, as am I. I do have laptops for work. I use a tiny little netbook as a word processor for writing work. It's brilliant. You can only write on it. You can't do anything else. Perfect as it isolates. That's a good point. That is a good point. You know, just having minimal kind of distractions right there. It's a big issue these days. It's a big issue with trying to kind of focus on your work and stuff like that. It can make it very difficult with this setup, because all my games are on here as well. So it's very easy to look at something and go, oh, I want to have a play with that one. Play a bit of Sunken Land. Sadly, they don't make netbooks any longer, but they're really cool for writing, I find. I used to use a little netbook when I was at the Arts Theatre in Cambridge. So when I was at work, I'd do a bit of writing during break times. God, that thing it's a piece of junk nowadays. It barely works. I think just anything, just even browsers on that thing is just too kind of like hard work for that thing to actually do anything. It's kind of a bit of a mess. But yeah, if we do Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, if we can find I think there's a copy online of that. That'd be great fun. Kerry's going to sign off for the night. Okay, yeah, you take care. I think we're probably just going to go for about another 20 minutes. Then we'll finish at 9 o'clock. And that'll be a fairly good time. Hopefully my throat won't give out if I go for too much longer. I just wanted to do a sort of a bit of a lighter one this time, rather than have a movie and all that kind of stuff. Especially because a lot of people are returning to work tomorrow. I figured it'd be nice just to do a slightly earlier one and just check that everything's working. And I have to say that power line adapter is actually kind of. I mean, it wasn't cheap. It wasn't stupidly expensive, but it wasn't cheap. It was about 80 quid. But seems to be holding up nicely. So. I'm going to just quickly experiment by just going to run some stuff in the background on YouTube and see if that actually kind of... Because if that works all right, then be absolutely fine. I think it will. I'm glad I saw that model, because I was going to go for one. It had about half the speed, and then I saw that one, and it was a bit like, okay, right, that's fine. It's nice to see you back, Glenn. Yes, and no, like I say, I apologise for such long. I know I don't have to apologise, yada, yada, yada. But I felt quite bad about the fact that I haven't been able to do a stream for a while. Just one thing or another. It was just either not possible or just a bit too much for me. It's been incredibly stressful, what can I say? The whole kind of idea of moving house, and especially as I've had a place of my own for, 10 years. And moving into a shared house, fortunately, because it is my friend that I moved in with, it's made life a little bit easier. Just because I'm a bit more confident that I know I can get on with her. So it does make a big difference. Day of the Dead all the way. It's been my most watched recently. I think it's Romero's best in terms of direction. Great look into it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's the best direction necessarily, but it is a lot of fun. I think it is a way better film than a lot of people gave credit for, although it's getting a lot more recognition these days for being a good Romero film. But I will always say I think the best directed and the best written was probably not even Dawn of the Dead. I think it's probably Knight Riders, possibly Martin. Those two films are amazing. I don't think Knight Riders gets nearly enough love. But, yeah. Yes, I'm off. See you on the next stream, everyone. Yes, take it easy, Richard. Day is great, but I'll always come back to Dawn. Dawn is the fun film of the lot. It's the fun one. And I know John's like a lot more forgiving of the kind of later ones, Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, and whatever the other one was. Off the top of my head is going. Yeah, I was not such a big fan of the later ones. I mean, they're kind of watchable. And I can't remember which one it is. It's the one with Kenneth Welsh, which I thought was bloody awful. I have no idea what the hell Romero was thinking with that film. It's just kind of so bizarre. It's so bizarre. But it's almost like this whole kind of... it's like where Jess Franco kind of went from doing... filming with actual film stock to going to digital. There's this sort of textural change to George Romero's later films. Not so much with Land of the Dead, although there's little computer graphics and all that kind of stuff to do there, special effects and that kind of thing, which was one thing. But certainly the two smaller films had a massively different kind of feel. Land did have a big different feel in some respects compared to the other films, because there was something about kind of both Dawn and Day have a somewhat grainier, almost kind of documentary kind of feel to a degree. Although you're not going to be fooled it's a documentary, but there's something about the kind of quality of that film which feels. I don't want to say less cinematic. Maybe that is what it is. It's slightly less cinematic than Land of the Dead. Land of the Dead is a very polished looking film. And I don't think it necessarily did it any favours. Knight Riders is great just for Savini and Speedos. Yes. Huge fan of Diary. One of my favourites. Survival, yes. Yes, Survival of the Dead. I did not get it. Diary was okay, but I thought it was a very kind of janky sort of exploration of kind of found footage. I don't think George Romero quite got found footage. I tell you something though, John, it would be great to do if we can find a way of doing a watch along or something like that. It would be great to do that with you, because it'd be interesting to have the sort of two kind of points of view. Someone who doesn't particularly like the film and someone who loves the film. Maybe we should do that at some point. John, did you pick up Second Sight 4K release of Martin? Oh, a great film. I'll have to look into that as well, actually. Is this the one? 17 quid. Oh, the DVDs were more expensive. I'm assuming that's the one. Yeah, second type film, $16.99. You know what? Let's buy it. Why not? Let's buy it. Just got to find the right goddamn address. There we go. I've ordered it. Yeah, it's not too expensive on Amazon at the moment. I complained about Amazon a lot lately, basically because one of the things they've done is they've started shifting towards no brand kind of stuff. So if you want a brand, you've really got to bloody search for it. If you just put in wireless router, it's not going to shove TP-Link and the likes up the top. Now it's going to give you some kind of like real cheap ass bottom of the barrel Shenzhen market, kind of like back alley Shenzhen market kind of model. And they're going, oh well, brands are a thing of the past. So we're going no brand. It's like, kind of, there's a reason why brands exist. It's because people trust brands. Having this sort of random assortment of shit that could just be a lottery as to whether it's good or not is not necessarily a good thing. Especially for you lot while you're here. Anyone seen Noroi? I have a copy of the Japanese DVD, but I haven't had a chance to watch it. I have not seen that. I don't even know what that is, to be honest with you. I'm going to quickly Noroi the Curse. Is it going down that line of like really, really sort of creepy Japanese? This is the thing. There's some really great companies out there, isn't there, doing these kind of things. And as they're smaller, I hope that they can just continue to kind of exist for the collector's market as opposed to necessarily having to scale up to be kind of like big deal sort of HMV type or Amazon type companies. I think that's the future with Blu-ray and DVD. I don't think it's going to go away. I think it's just going to be kind of like it's going to be a collector's market kind of thing. But yeah, I've not heard of it either, Simon. But actually, if you like a bit of Japanese horror, it looks like it could be worth a watch. Really shouldn't have got that because I've got apparently my motorbike has been the work on it's been completed and apparently it's ready for picking up. So tomorrow at some point I've got to ring the garage and find out what's going on. So that's going to probably end up costing about 700 quid. Yikes. But I will figure it out. I've got a credit card and I'll have to pay all that off. God damn it. Just as I was about to clear it as well. Meant to say, it's a great 2023 review video update. Yes, I'm going to definitely, yes, we'll give you kind of everyone a reminder. Go check that out after. If I can just see if I can find it, I'll put a link in the... Just very quickly mute that. I'm going to put that into the chat. Simon's videos, always worth a watch. There you go. So that's what that's your homework for tonight. Go watch that as soon as we're done here, and we're going to be done here in just a few more minutes. And hopefully, what's going to happen over the next few weeks is. Next 2 weeks is probably going to be nothing, and then the weekend after that, which let me just check that. So probably the 19th or the 20th is when we'll do the next stream, and whether or not I think we might try to do something with Simon. Either that or something with John if he's up for it, and we'll figure something out. But that's when the next one will be, because I've got a charity gig happening this coming week. That starts on the Sunday and then goes right through to the following Saturday. So I ain't gonna have much time to be able to kind of sit up and do a whole bunch of stuff, stream wise and all that kind of stuff. But hopefully after that point I'm going to try to be a little bit more regular with what we do. There will be interruptions, obviously. Sometimes I'm going to have to go back home, like at the end of February, beginning of March, sometime around then. I'm hoping to head back home just briefly for a weekend, do a few things like that. But I will try to keep it on a fairly regular basis, probably every other week or something like that. Seems to be kind of realistic, but hopefully we'll get that sort of stuff done. No problem, Simon. It's absolutely fine. Always happy to push your stuff. And John's got a couple of videos up which I've really got to catch up with, because there's been a couple I've missed, I think. See if I can find the damn thing. There we go. I'm going to just put John's in there as well. And for those who don't know where John's channel is, very highly worth a look. He does some music. He does apparently it's a poetry thing, because he does that kind of stuff as well. His film video essays are really, really good. Very, very much worth a look. So if you don't know his stuff, go and have a look. He's a filmmaker in his own right and does a whole bunch of very creative stuff. So go over, show him some love. But I think we'll call it a night there. I'd kind of like to do it go until like 10, but to be quite honest, my voice is only just getting used to having to do this again. And I'll try and get whatever collab going on for the next stream. Like I say, that'll be in about a couple of weeks' time, 19th or so. And I will try to get that kind of like flagged up nice and early, and try and make sure that it kind of happens. Obviously, my situation has changed, so there can be a certain amount of like me having to deal with the fact that I'm sharing a house at my age. My God, I need to just kick some people out of the house and have it for myself, don't I? But for now, I say take care, folks. Thanks for joining. It's been lovely to sort of catch up, and like I say, I apologise. It's been such a long time. I know you guys understand, but yeah, it's annoying for me as much as anything. And I kind of wanted to do it last night, but I had to do the sociable thing. Not that that's a chore, but sometimes I just want to get in there and do a stream. But for now, I'll say good night. Have a lovely. Enjoy your return to work, folks. I've got a couple more days yet. But yeah, I will see you soon, and take care. Keep watching those horror films and keep playing those retro games. I will see you all round about the 19th. Take care, folks.